Steve, you and I are jumping back into the world of The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. We're back again, making our return to see what has been added, what is new, and what's going on. Here's the thing. If you played The Last of Us Part 2, it is more of the same, right? It is the story. It is a fantastic story. How do you beat my game of the year back in 2020, right? Like, dude, this thing is 4 years old now at this point. So now we're getting the latest version brought over to PS5 with all the magical upgrades that the PS5 brings, right? 4K, 60 frames per second, the enhancement of the DualSense controller, the haptic feedback, the slight little rumble and movements, right? You'll get a clicker walking by you, you'll feel that in the controller. Certain little things, the magic of that controller just really elevates your experience moving forward. But at the end of the day, if you played The Last of Us Part 2, it's The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
Which is magic in its own, right? Like, you can't, man, there's nothing wrong with it. It was a 10 out of 10 game then. And, you know, spoilers, we're kind of getting in the same thing here, but there's more added to it. But you and I had an interesting conversation off camera of maybe why this is all queued up for the time it is. Why don't you get into that?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, to be honest, when the first Last of Us come out, it was such a phenomenal hit for its time. Graphically, the story, the whole 9 yards. And then HBO dropped the series. And for people that never had the PlayStation 4 at the time, you know, and then the HBO dropped and the series done phenomenally good.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then it got a new following from the TV show. So people went out and actually played The Last of Us or The Last of Us Remastered. But then I know The Last of Us 2, the HBO, is in production at the moment, or they're still casting for the characters of Abby and that. So obviously, perfect opportunity, Last of Us 2 Remastered, to drop out with the extra content. Because as you touched on before, the main base game is awesome.
Yeah.
And with the 4K, the DualSense, that did suck me in again. I thought I'd just play for a little bit just to see, you know, the improvements of it. And then next thing I know, I'm like 4 hours in. And then he was like, "Hey Steve, we really need to try the extra content of the No Return." And I have to say, I actually love this, the No Return. And I can kind of see why they might have dropped the multiplayer aspect.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
Man, I guess this is our little extra when it comes to The Last of Us, right? Because as we all know, the Last of Us multiplayer factions 2, whatever they're calling it, is been canceled. But for The Last of Us Remastered Part 2, it does come with 3 extra levels. But here's the thing. These are lost levels, which I think a lot of people were queued up going, man, we're getting 3 extra levels. That's not the case here, right? No. You go down into making of, you get these 3 extra levels. Then they're queued up by Neil Druckmann, right? The director of the game, who gives you a little insight as to why these 3 levels, A, are not finished, and B, why they're cut from the game. And then it allows you to put on commentary and guide yourself through it, and then listen to individuals talk about their idea of when they're making and designing these levels. I thought it was a fantastic feature. I absolutely adored it, right? You always look for, okay, it's a remastered. What else do we get with the remastered besides enhanced graphics? The Last of Us Part 2 looked great in the first place. Now on PS5, the game is just beautiful, right? It is absolutely stunning. But these lost levels gives you an insight for the creative minds of what they're doing and how they're building out the game at the time, but why these levels didn't make it. So be ready. These levels aren't finished, right? There's missing assets. There's missing voice acting. There's missing this, that, and the other. But they're pretty cool concepts of, man, this could have been here. Like, this one was almost finished. So maybe like, there's a lot of these things that, like, this is a nice touch. And then, like you mentioned, No Return, which is really where I spend most of my time getting over there. Dude, the tension this game mode brings. It is intense, right? You're more or less set up in an arena kind of thing where you're getting into these different game modes. And it's always a different run, different factions, infected, and the levels get more difficult and more challenging. as you progress along. But then you can unlock different characters. You can unlock, each character comes with their own perks. So it's kind of what fits your play style, right? And I was constantly like, yo, where's my bow and arrow? I'm going out as Ellie, then I'm going out as Dina, and now I have Jesse, right? So I'm starting to get there. And then you get into Abby's side and her group, and then you can unlock all of them as well, and then progress along. Like, there's a lot to go for when you're getting into this game mode that I think that keeps the longevity going for The Last of Us Part 2 until whenever we see The Last of Us Part 3. Maybe one day the multiplayer will resurface, right? That kind of aspect of it. But this is a cool mode, worth it on its own. If you have the remastered, this $10 upgrade just for no return, dude, hands down, worth every dime.
Yeah, and I want to just quickly touch on as well, on the no return, it is roguelike. And I have to say, the more daunting for me is the first 20 seconds, because I'm scurrying, running, trying to get as many resources and items as possible. and then it starts. And what I love about this, because you can go in there guns blazing, and sometimes you don't really have a lot of choice. But I found myself either trying to do stealth mode, because you do have that that focus to sort of see where the enemies are between, like through walls and stuff like that. But you also get 4 different types of runs as well, because you do get like the assault, where it's just waves of enemy that once you've killed them all, then you go back to your hub.
Yeah, you're
so then so you get like 8 different kind of, is it levels or stages to progress through to get to the final one. And like I said, you can have assault, you can have a capture where you have to find a safe on a limit time and try and unlock it to get the rewards. You have holdout as well, which is you and another AI, which I thought was really cool. And then you just get the waves of enemy, and then also you have hunted, where you just have to survive for that limited time. And I will say there's a few close calls, but after each stage you progress, like I said, you go back to the hub where you can upgrade your weapon. You also find blueprints as well. So then you can like craft a shotgun, or if it's a bow, the arrow, or bows and arrows and stuff like that. Your health, but everything is going on, and I just love this part of the game.
It is chaotic, right? And it is rewarding, but the way it's set up is it allows you to kind of pick the path you want to go. Dude, I avoid the infected as much as I possibly can, knowing when I get to the end, I don't have a choice, right? But I'd rather stick to taking on the humans. But every run is different. It is unique, right? At one point, I'm stealthily taking everybody. But then the minute one of the modifiers that was happening in that particular world, that level, was when I took them out, they would drop like a stick of dynamite and just blow up. So like, then I'm running, right? Or you hit them with a melee weapon and then they catch on fire. Like all these other modifiers that are affected your run. So it's never the same thing. Daily challenges are there as well. Like there's other rewards. You get one shot at the daily challenge and then it's posted on a leaderboard. Man, you will never see my name at the top of that thing, I tell you right now. But I do look forward to going in and trying to see if I can achieve that, right? And this is where you kind of get into this battle back and forth. Well, where did you go, Steve? How far did you get, Steve? How did you make it on the daily run? Well, I landed here. Competition reps up for again tomorrow, right? Let's do this again. So you're constantly getting more and more out of it every time you participate and get into this game mode. Dude, I absolutely adore this game. Again, back in the day, my game of the year. This year, obviously a little bit different being a remaster, but it's still at the top of the list. This is a fantastic game. Steve, at the end of the day, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is an incredible experience. Back in the day when The Last of Us Part 2 launched, it was my game of the year. I gave it a 10 then. Now with the remastered version, it's the same game, but with extra content, a better looking graphic fidelity to it, 60 frames per second, 4K, with the dual sense. Dude, everything's just been enhanced, right? This is the way to play it. And then we got a whole new game mode with no return. How can I not give it a 10? It was a 10 then. Dude, it's higher now because of the new game mode, but we maxed out at 10, so I'm stuck with the 10. The game is magic, just pure magic. What about you?
Well, I was there with you when we reviewed it initially, and I gave it a 10 as well, and I just thought it just blew my mind. And everything you just touched on, all enhanced, the no return, just what a surprise. And for an extra $10 upgrade, or if you're buying it from scratch, this game has to be a 10 again, because it's just speechless. It just sums it all up, what we just said.